What up, Left Hook fam? We wanted to do another how-to tutorial video. Today we're going to talk about how to do a 3-point light setup. I just kind of quickly wanted to go over the fundamentals on the board just to show you kind of like theoretically what you need to be doing. You've got your background, you've got your subject. Basically, you've got 3 important lights. You have your key, your fill, and your backlight, or otherwise known as rim lighting or hot edge. Let's just say this is our key. That's gonna be the key light. That's gonna light your subject. That's responsible for the majority of the lighting. Your backlight usually is pointing opposite of your keys. This lights the majority of your subject's face, and this just kind of gives them the shoulder and the hair light. And then right over here, boom, you know, the strength of this light is gonna be less than your key because you don't wanna wash out the entire face. This is your fill light. Your nose and the cavities in your eye are typically the areas where you get a lot of shadow, because if you're doing this, the shadow that's cast over here, depending on how harsh that light is, that's gonna create shadows that the fill light remedies, essentially. What we like to do, we have a big diffuser right here. Anytime you diffuse light, it's basically gonna fall off and create softer shadows with softer lines that are more smooth. If you take away this diffuser, then basically the shadows are a little bit harsher. You have more defined lines, which sometimes that's what you want. So it just comes down to what you want out of your shoot. So we're gonna actually set it up for you real quick and talk through the different lights and show you what those lights are doing once they're set up. So let's go. Mr. Talent over here. This is Sean. He works with us. He's gonna be Mr. Diva drinking coffee. You ready? Sean Franklin, lighting tutorial, sake 1. All right, guys. So anyways, this is our little setup here. Like I said, on the board, this is the application of that fundamental knowledge. So I drew it a little bit backwards. I like to light. This is my key light. So what you can see what it's doing to Sean's face, it's lighting his thing in the majority. So right now, this is my key light, and this is the setup. But when you add everything else, that's your 3 lights in action. So let's talk about that backlight real quick, or the hair light. See how that's separating him from the background? It's kind of giving him a little more definition on that left side. It's actually filling in under his chin really nicely. So that's basically what that backlight's supposed to do. The intensity of the light is always gonna be pretty soft. I think we have ours at like 35, 45%. The key light, however, is 100. So without it, you lose obviously a ton of definition unless you were doing something super dramatic. And then real quickly, this fill light, like I said before, the fill light is just supposed to fill in the shadows that is casted by the key light. So key light lights up the majority of his face, let's say 70% of it. But when I add that fill, it just softly adds in and removes those shadows. It lifts them so that you have more definition on the other side of his face, but it still gives his face definition. So you still have a shadow from his nose. His right eye is still in the shadow, it's still lit, but without that fill, it's just really dramatic and really intense. So that's what that does. And I will just note real quick, there's several ways to fill. You could diffuse it. Because of our space, I like to bounce it, because if you see me drop it and point it directly at him, it gets crazy intense. Sorry, Sean. You could always drop your strength, but also, like I briefly touched, if you're pointing lights directly at a subject without a diffuser, shadows get a little bit harsher. So right here in his cheek, you see this little glimmer, that's from that key light, which is nice, but it's not as soft as if I was to just lift this, bounce the light, and then just blast it to 100%. You still kind of get that right here in his cheek, but I think overall the shadows are softer. That's pretty much your 3-point lighting and some amazing talent drinking coffee. Shout out to Jaden behind the camera. And I think that's it for today's tutorial, guys. This is the 3-point lighting. I hope it helps. If you have any questions, just reach out. Just hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. lefthookvideos.com. And that's it. Appreciate you guys. See you.